Hi, I'm Dame Kelly Holmes, and I've been on the wonderful Angie's book club talking about my book, Unique.
Been waiting for this one for quite a while. I got this book and I was like, okay. And then I thought, I've got to get Dame Kelly Holmes in. And she's here.
Yes, I am.
Dame Kelly Holmes is on Angie's book club, ABC.
Hey, thank you.
Can I call you Kelly or do I have to call you Dame Kelly?
Kelly for sure.
Can I call you Kelly from now on?
Yes.
Thank you,
and
Kelly.
Thank you for letting me in.
Oh my
Brilliant.
goodness, thank you for coming. Because I know you're very much in demand at the moment. Because this isn't the first book of your life. And this is, I'm going to say, the freeing chapter.
Yeah.
But let's go back to some really poignant points of your athletic career.
Yeah.
Can I go with Athens 2004?
Of course, that's where we're going to go, right?
I remember sitting there watching the TV and Kelly was running. She was doing all right. She was doing all right. And then she steps over the finish line.
Look at her face.
She's not quite sure because it was a very, very close finish, wasn't it?
Oh my God, yes. It was. See, this was... The thing is with this race, I never ever once thought I would become Olympic 800 metre champion. In my whole career, which was 12 years as an international athlete, I'd always done 8 and 1500 metres, but I never ever thought that was my dream. My dream was always to win the 1500 metres. So winning that, which you say, actually was only about 0.05 of a second separated the first four of us. But it was that moment of, oh my God, I've done it.
Your foot went over the line.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched that on YouTube. And it's kind of like, is she going to do it? Is she going to do it? We're not sure. And then it happens. And it's your face.
Yeah.
And I think it was that moment of elation in your face that then made us as a nation go, yes, she's done it. All right. 1500 now.
Yeah.
You weren't joking. You were owning that.
I was owning that one.
Because, Kelly, you were very much at the back of that race. I don't know if you ever replay it in your mind or if you ever watch it on YouTube. Because I'm sitting there thinking, what? Can you move up a bit now, please? Can you just... And then it's like, I don't know if Duracell got in your system. I don't know what it was. But you just took off because you didn't just win that race. You took that race over.
Yeah, I think, I believe in fate. I really do. And I think that having run for so many years, kind of I knew me as an athlete. But I think it had always been a fight to get there because of injuries.
Yes.
I'd been injured for 7 years out of my 12-year athletics career, yet I won 13 international medals. This was the first year, at the end of that 7 years, I had no injuries. I became psychologically ready for this event. I had a great team around me. I knew how to race, and I just had to believe in myself. And the thing is, 6 races in 9 days at that level is really, really hard because you're literally running world-class times every single time. And I think, to be honest, if I hadn't have won the 800, I actually don't think I would have won the 15. Because by winning the 8 took ultimately the pressure off. Because now I've got a gold medal. It's like, well, I'm Olympic champion.
Absolutely.
Now I've just got to run a race, and if I come back with any colour, it's okay. But now because I... sort of in my head. So I remember very quickly back to when I was...
It's okay, don't be quick.
30,
go through it, yeah.
At my second Olympic Games in Sydney. I'd had a 12 centimetre tear earlier in that year. And I got to Sydney with only 6 weeks of running. The rest was all in the gym, like doing step and cross trainer and weight training and everything. And I got to that Sydney Olympics. No one thought I could get there, and I won a bronze medal, right? Because everyone just thought there's no way. She said, no, I had 6 weeks of running, she can't win.
Yeah.
I got a bronze medal. What most people don't know is I ran the 1500 as well. And my coach said, you can win a medal here. And I was thinking, no, I can't. I only just got here, you know what I mean? I ran the race and I did not believe in myself. I came 7th, and he cried after my coach, and he said, you've let yourself down. And I never, ever forget that. So when I went to Athens, winning the 800, knowing I was in the shape of my life, that I could actually win a medal, I just kept his words in my head and said, don't finish till you finish. And then I went and won again. Imagine.
And you got earrings now, imagine.
I still
2
get
gold
medals.
medals, isn't it?
I know.
Was athletics your freedom? Was it something in you when you were younger that you just thought, you know what, this is my mindset, this is my focuser?
Yeah, I always thought that winning Olympics was my destiny, to be honest. I felt that was me. I felt the freedom of being a talented young girl when I didn't think I could be anything else. My freedom was in running. For me, it also gave me a purpose and an identity, because everyone knew me then as a great athlete. And, it's like even going back to school, when you have one person that believes in you, which was my PE teacher, Debbie Page, told me I could be good, and I believed in her. And I had a natural ability, which can only go so far, right? Because you can have a natural ability in anything, but if you don't believe in it, you don't put in the hard work, don't have the passion, dedication, everyone gives up. So many people could be far more successful in life in anything they choose to do. They don't give up. For me, it was about, this is what I can be. This is what I can be good at. It's all I really know. The only person that can let myself down was me. And I had that from a really young age. And of course, I was also inspired. Sometimes you have to see it's possible, right?
Yeah.
See it to believe it. What's visible shows you can do it. And at that stage, it was like, I watched the Olympic Games. I was 14 years old. I watched a British male athlete. So it wasn't about gender. It was about person that resonated, who competed for the country that I was from, who stood on a rostrum, gold medal around her neck, national anthem playing, British flag flying. I thought, that's what I want to be.
That's what you want.
And I went back to school and told my PE teacher I'm going to be Olympic champion.
And you spoke it into existence.
Yeah.
During your times of injury, because I remember seeing you speak some years ago, and when I leant on what I thought was a wall and it was a curtain, she's still laughing at me all these years later.
It was a classic. It was brilliant.
That's all she remembers about me.
It's all right.
Oh, I remember you. You fell over that.
You got up gracefully. It was fine.
Do you ever sometimes think, during those times of injury, even though you knew you wanted the end goal, were there ever times during injury where you thought, you know what, I can't do this?
Yeah. I used to think, give me a break. I literally thought I was cursed at one stage, because I'd had so many injuries and I'd fought back through it. Because when you get an injury, so as a sports person, it's quite finite, that it's black and white. You win, you lose, you get a good race, you don't, you get to a team, you don't. It's out there. So the only thing that applies you is being good enough to be there, right, at the time. No one sees that behind the scenes. No one sees the hard work, the determination, the hours, the minutes, the seconds, the crying, the celebration. They don't see that. They see what they might see on a screen, right, the last result. So the thing is with sport, it always became sort of, this is what I have to do to become who I want to be, I suppose. You know what I mean? And I've forgotten your question.
Injury.
Injuries.
Were there ever a time where, even though you saw the end goal, was there ever a time during injury you thought, oh man?
Yeah, because the thing is, when you had an injury, you have a choice. You have an injury, you give up on that next part of the thing. So in sport, every year mattered. So I could have an Olympic cycle of 4 years, right? But no one can wake up every day and think, oh, the Olympic Games in 4 years' time. Like, you can't do that.
You've got to keep you
can't do it, but you've got to keep it there.
Yeah.
So then in sport, again, you can break it down quite simply by a yearly goal. Like we had Commonwealth Games, European champs and world champs. So then it was like more of attainable. Right, this is what I've got to put my focus in. But then again within sport, that year seems so long when you're going training every day, twice a day. It's down to the second, the nth degree of the coach sets you a schedule on that day and says you've got to run 10 300 metres with 100 metres walk or jog recovery, and you've got to do it within 43 seconds. It only matters that day.
Yeah.
It don't matter in a year's time.
Yeah.
Because if I don't set, so injuries become a bane of your life, because when you're injured, it sets you back.
Yeah.
You think, oh my gosh, I've got something I've got to go through. I've got to get at that championship that year, but I'm injured. So now the plan's disrupted. You know what it's like when a plan's disrupted, your head goes, you think, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. You panic, you worry. So in sport, I had to learn how to deal with the worry and the panic. So adapt. So I go in the gym, I go in the, pool. I do whatever I had to do to stay fit, because I knew how to race. But then one after another, you just think, give me a break. Because you're always clawing and fighting. What I didn't realise at the time was the fighting was having an effect on my mental health. I was only thinking of it having a physical detriment. If I can't run, I can't race. So when I had an injury, I think, okay, I'm injured. And I lift off the premise. So this is what started. My first Olympic Games, I was 26 years old.
Wow.
I was serving full time in the military. I used to give up my leave to go away and compete. I got to this Olympic Games, I was 26, I thought it was ancient. I thought I might not ever get to another Olympic Games. I flew over to our holding camp in Tallahassee with a bruise on my leg, and I was like literally top 3 in the world at the time. And I felt this bruise, and I thought, God, what is that? So I went, and we're now in our holding camp in Tallahassee. The Olympics were in Atlanta. The guy said to me, the doctor, he said, let's scan it, check. You've got a stress fracture, you've got to go home. And I was like, I can't go home. Like, it's my only Olympics. What if I never get to another Olympic games? And I said, well, give me a choice. Give me a choice. He said, well, you can go home, which I
advise you to do, yeah.
Or you can run. If you fall, you will break your leg completely. I said, but is it a choice? And he said, well, of course it is. So I ran. So I ran at those Olympic Games. I had injections into the bone site in here. For the first 2 times, the heats in the semi-final, it's like, okay, I can't feel it because it was a numbing injection. I thought, I'm just going to run. Got through to the final. The morning of the final, just before I warmed up, he hit the bone site where it had cracked. I had a little stress fracture. I mean, the pain like ricocheted up me. Now I'm emotional because now I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
So I go out onto the final. Now, of course, no one knows that no one knows I've got a stress fracture. But I'm in an Olympic final.
I've got to do it.
With it. So I run. I'm coming down. I'm actually in medal position. I got pipped on the line into 4th by 1/10 of a second, right? At that point, it was gutting. I'm laying in the physio room. I had 2 choices when I got home. On crutches, going back to barracks. I'm on crutches. I could have said, what's the point? I didn't get there and feel down. Or I could go, I've come 4th in the world at the Olympic Games with a stress fracture.
Absolutely.
And no one knows the mental trauma, the physical pain. I've got to be good enough.
Absolutely.
So from that day, I thought I was always good enough to win a gold medal.
Moved you into a different gear.
Yeah, because the next year I'm coming out flying. I'm coming out believing I can do anything. I broke the British record. I became #1 in the world by 5 seconds. I thought, I am ready. World Championships, ironically, in Athens that year. I'm thinking, I'm invincible. 5 seconds faster than anyone else in the world. I got a little niggle in my Achilles. I thought, oh my God, here we go again. Went towards Athens, blah, 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 blah. Got to Athens race. I'd had treatment. First race, the first day of that championships, completely ruptured my calf from here to here, tore my Achilles. I'm hobbling down the track now. Medics aren't even in place because it's the first race of the first day. I was distraught, I thought, and everyone was telling me, your career's over, you're not going to get over that injury. I thought to myself, if I could be #1 in the world by 5 seconds before this, I'm good enough to be Olympic champion. And that's what kept me going throughout my career, that whole, if I can, I can.
Yes.
But the problem is it becomes a mental trauma that I didn't really play into part because no one talked about mental health awareness. I'm on the physio bed. It's all about, you get your back, we'll get your back, I'll get back. I was always fighting. And I got towards a point where, like, when I was 33, I just thought, give me a break. Like, it was literally became such a psychological trauma of fighting for it all the time. So now I've won in that 12 years as an athlete, well, 11 years prior to Athens as an athlete, 7 years I'd been injured. Yet I'd already won 11 international medals. So how do you do that? Yeah. How do you do that when you're injured every year, but you do it? You do it because you fight, your heart, your passion. But then it broke me. Then I had a big mental health problem and I ended up having a breakdown when I was 33, getting ready for the World Championships. But I still won a bronze medal at that World Champs.
Can we
what does that mean?
You're stronger than you know.
Everyone is.
And you've got a mental agility that probably vibrates higher than others because of your physical passion to win in the midst of injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we touch on the mental breakdown?
Yeah.
You go as far as you want to go.
Yeah.
When did you know, hang on, I've got to stop. I've got to move. I've got to manoeuvre myself. I need to do something about how I'm feeling.
Well, so back in 2003, we're talking about, no one talked about mental health awareness, right? So I didn't watch telly much because I was always away. I was travelling, you know what I mean? I had a sort of nomad life of sort of quite, lonely really, because you're just travelling around the world. You do your sport, you see your team, then you're off to a training camp and I'd left the army by then. So of course that's all I had. So you're in a voice just keeps coming, because a lot of time you're on your own.
Yeah.
And I remember going to this World Championships, and I was with a new coach that I'd been with a previous year, and a new training partner, and their energy was always high because that training partner had never been injured at all. Maria Matola from Mozambique. She's one of the best middle distance shredders in the world. And for 2 years I had the same coach, because I was training for the 1500 and she was the 8. And it was something about the fact that when you're with another athlete at your level and you see everything's so good, everything's so positive, yet you've been so close to them, you just think, I'm better than you. I know it's so bad, but if somebody's never been injured and you're always up against them and you're like so close, but I'm fighting all the time, in my head I'm like, I'm better than this person, yet my body's letting me down, and psychologically it just becomes traumatic, because you feel like, why am I fighting so damn hard for this? So I was in training camp, and I got another niggle ready at Paris. I was in Paris. I was in France for the training camp, but we were getting ready for Paris. And I got another small niggle back in the pool. I was like, give me a break. Like, I'm literally like, give me a break. Anyway, I didn't know at the time how much it had been a detriment to my mental health.
Yeah.
And I was
You're getting over all of these physical injuries, but were we checking up here what it was doing?
Of course, never, because no one ever asked how I felt about it. It's just sort of next thing.
And because you're always healing and winning, what's wrong with Kelly?
Yeah, you're still strong, you know. You have to portray to be strong. And also, I'm a veteran, you know. I'm an ex-army girl, so everyone sees it as strength. Was
your time in the army, do you think that was a contribution to your mental health? But then you just reached that block and you just was like, do you know what?
Yeah.
I've got to do something.
I think being in the army made me a strong person individually, so I was able to put up with everything that I put up with physically. Yeah. Because actually in the heart, I'm like, I can go again, you know. Yeah. So I had two things: discipline in the military, of course, transferred to discipline as a sports person, without a doubt. Being a strong woman in a male-dominated environment, because I used to take mainly men for physical training, made me a strong woman. Yes. But when you want something so badly, which I wanted to be Olympic champion, that's a personal thing, you know, and that's a personal thing that only I can feel and touch and have the emotion of. Mm-hmm. So, basically this holding camp, I basically lost the plot, and I had my first ever breakdown, which I didn't know was a breakdown at the time, but when you're screaming inside and feel like you're dying on the floor, and I became a self-harmer at that same time, it was traumatic. But the thing is, no one knew I was going through it because I couldn't talk to anyone. Yeah. I started with World Championship to race that. Yeah. So I went to that World Championship. No one knew what was happening, and I won a silver medal. Okay. And no one knew that at night I'm at the depths of despair. I'm self-harming. In the day, I'm Kelly Holmes, a world-class athlete. Yeah. So that flipped a switch. So I thought, if I can become a silver medal at World Championships, and yet 1 minute I'm on the ground wanting it to open up and not see the next day, the challenge in my head was like unbearable almost, because you kind of, one half of me felt like giving up on everything in life. And the other half was not giving up on the dream. Absolutely. So having something for people to believe in is so powerful to your mental health. Still wanting something, still believing in something, having, whether it's a person, a thing, a place, whatever, for me, is so vital for anyone going through a traumatic time in life, because we are powerful people, even though we might just have something on our shoulder telling us or not, or bringing us down. We are resilient as individuals. And for me at that time, my resilience was, I want to be Olympic champion, because that's what I held on to since I was 14. Gave me my purpose, my identity, my values, my me. And never giving up on that allowed me to still strive for it. Otherwise, I could have given up many years. Every year. Years ago. I'd never be sitting here with you.
Do you ever think about the people that you are going to help because of your self-harming? And it's not something I've heard you talk a lot about, if I'm going to be really honest. Everybody's got a switch in them that clicks at some point. We seem to think that singers and dancers and athletes and actors, they're fine. They don't have that. Yeah. For you to walk out on a stage, and I remember you walking out on a stage before I knew any of this, and I thought, this woman's got it. She's on fire. She's helping people. This is a part of your life now that you haven't been so open about. Do you think about how this book, Unique, is going to help people?
Yeah, it's strange. It's because the thing is, as you say, because like I wrote my autobiography. I feel so weird like when I talk about it now. So I wrote my autobiography back in 2005, the year after I retired from Athens.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that book, I opened up about my mental health struggle from the 2 years before, because I was a celebrated athlete. You know, I'd done what no other woman had done in the UK by bringing back those 2 gold medals. And I was put on a pedestal, but I was still sort of the girl from Kent. So in my head, I was like, no, because obviously, like, I'm so grateful for everything I've ever been given. But I thought to myself, does it not make me stronger saying, actually, I've struggled to get here, yet I still did it.
Yes.
So in my mind, it was like, I want to keep my feet on the ground as much as I could have at the time, because I felt that the story would help people more if I go, it wasn't easy. I didn't just run up being like brilliant athlete and suddenly I won 2 gold medals, because otherwise that was untouchable. That's almost like, well, she won 2 gold medals, I can never be anything. So I opened up. But the thing that became the distraction was the fact that some of the other things about not being open and free to be me, my sexuality, and the barriers that brought, of course, would have been twisted up in that earlier story. But because I had the athletics to focus on, it was pushed back so much.
Yeah.
So actually what this is now is actually reliving some of the story. Of course, I didn't rewrite the whole biography, but I was rewriting some of the past story where I could just be a bit more open about how I felt.
Yes.
Because even though I brought the emotional thing about the self-harming, it was quite factual about sport in my other one. It's like, I did this, very chronological.
Yeah.
It showed the highs and lows of injury.
Right.
And the mental health bit was always alluding to the fact that I was always injured. I never alluded to the fact that as a person, like, I was suffering.
Yeah.
I was suffering inside because I could never talk about it. I could never be open. And I felt that if I did at that time, it could ruin everything I'd ever built as a world-class athlete and how the world perceived me at that time. So it was a struggle back then.
But now it's made you stronger.
Yeah.
And you're going to make other people stronger. Can I ask you why you chose to become open about your sexuality at the time you did? If you want to answer.
No,
if you don't.
No, I'm very, I stand around, I go on the world stage now, around the world, and I just talk, I say it as it is, because I feel like if I can help one person, brilliant. And I'm not afraid anymore. This is the difference.
Why were you afraid, Kelly? Is it because of what the media would have done with it? Or what was it?
So it's quite complex. So when I first joined the army, I didn't really think about my sexuality, you know what I mean? I was an athlete from a very young age. All I did was bike to school 3 miles because we didn't have a bus, bike to training, bike back to school and compete on the weekends. That was my life from the age of 12.
Okay.
Until I went in the military, which I went in when I was a month before I was 18. So yeah, I had sort of boyfriends as such, but I didn't really think about that. It wasn't my priority going out with my mates. I loved running. I loved it. It gave me purpose. It gave me me. So when I joined the army, I didn't also know that I was going to end up being a gay woman. I just didn't think about it. It just became
joined the army?
Just joined the army as a soldier. I became attracted to a girl in the army, but I didn't really know that meant I was a gay woman. I just became attracted to a girl. I was more comfortable chatting with a girl. But at the time, unbeknown to me, really in depth, although I've obviously got to find out, there was a law in the army that was against the law to be gay. That law had been in place from 1964. The consequences of being found out were that you could either lose your career, be jailed, you could... some veterans went on to lose their long service medals, berries taken away from them, become homeless. Loads of things happened to military that got kicked out, basically. And what happened is when I was 22, I got raided. And by raided means that the Royal Military Police came into our barracks. Basically, they came into the barracks to find out if anyone may be gay. This was the thing. What happened in that case was that, and I'll say it from anyone listening's point of view, is that if you went home tonight and the burglars were in your house and in front of you They are ripping up all of your belongings, everything you've got, pulling down curtains, ripping up your bed, looking into your possessions, ripping it up, throwing it in face of, and they're in your head, frightening you, vilifying you, degrading you, belittling you, and you are petrified.
Yeah.
I had that when I was 22 years old.
Okay.
It never went because I loved my career so badly. I didn't want the thing of being kicked out.
Of course.
When I left the army, I was 27. I was also then full-time athlete, world-class athlete. No one talked about being gay. Had no role models. I didn't know what it was like. The ban was still in place until I went to those Olympic Games when I was 30. It only got lifted in 2000.
Stop it.
At that same time, I'm now a world-class athlete. No one talked about being gay. I'm still like attached and thinking, oh my God, I could be jailed. So I kept it inside. I then go and win 2 gold medals.
Okay.
I'm now scared that anyone that knew about me in the army being gay could potentially out me, which is a worse thing for someone from the community.
So you're carrying the joy of these gold medals, but you're also carrying the trauma of something you've held inside.
Trauma, and worried that it would then vilify me in some way, i.e. I could still be jailed, because that was a rational fear. I thought I could be jailed if I admitted being gay in the army, right? Because that ban's only just been lifted. So I kept that in. At the same time, I'm put on this pedestal. I thought to myself, oh my God, if somebody outs me, what are the press and the media? Because I lived in the generation where in the 80s, it was so taboo to be gay. You know, it was awful. You had Section 28 when it's against the law in the country to be gay, let alone in the army, the AIDS epidemic, so many things. So there was, and from being detached from that community as such, I still saw the negative, you know, the bullying, the bigotry, the judgment, the harm, the deaths that were happening. So I was scared. I was so scared. That carried on until lockdown.
Go girl. Come on.
Lockdown.
Come on now.
So lockdown happened. So I've lost my mum, which is a big part of the book.
I know.
I lost my mum, 2017. She always wanted me to live my life. My friends and my family, I'm so grateful, have known about me. And my mum did. She always wanted to live my life, and she saw how much it tore me up. She said, you just got to, and I said, I can't, and you don't know it, because unless you have lived experience of anything, you don't really, you can connect and understand and feel from someone. But I said, but you don't get it, because her world was so away from mine.
And then
she didn't even understand me being an athlete.
Unknown,
she was like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You're mad. You know what I mean? She didn't understand my world. Yeah. So the fear of it was so bad. And then she passed away. And I thought, I've got to do something to change. But I still didn't know. Lockdown come. It's all in the book.
Yeah.
Lockdown come. I now feel trapped because I'm watching these deaths on television. I'm thinking, God, if I die, my friends and family are going to stand at my funeral going, isn't it a shame she can't live her life? And I thought, that's my right. But now what that's doing to me is tearing me up. So I lost the plot. I had to give up work for 10 months. I had professional burnout because the narrative in my head was scaring me so much that I kept putting myself into work. I'm lifting up the laptop, doing all my interviews and my speaking engagements about mental health awareness. And I got to this one, I've lifted up the laptop, I was doing a mental health awareness, but I'm having a breakdown as well. I said to this audience of 500 people, I don't know if I can do this talk. Literally, it just came out of my mouth. I said, I'm really suffering today. Anyway, it's the best talk I've ever done, isn't it? Because it's like telling them the truth. I put
the truth shall set you free.
Right? So I put the laptop down and I called my PA. I said, you're going to have to cancel. I was lost. Then I went to this one night, basically, and I had a choice to live or not. And this one night, I was so petrified of what I was going to do to myself because I couldn't free myself. I felt like I just have to talk. I can't live with this not being me anymore.
Yeah.
In the public domain. And why people question that is like, they go, why do you have to come out? Because if you are from the community, it feels like you have to out yourself all the time. Because when you're trying to say, society generally, if you're heterosexual, you can just say to someone, I'm going on holiday with my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my this or that. You don't have to watch where you go around the world to see if it's illegal or not illegal. You don't have to worry when you check into a hotel that you're, sneaking your partner in that's the same sex partner in case that hotel start looking at you differently or whatever. When I got to lockdown, I thought, I have to be me. I can't cope with this any longer. So I went through, had a really bad night that night. And then I went on the journey to do the documentary, which I fortunately got to done, that came out last year. And that was June 2022, so only recently. And from the day that that documentary came out, I freed myself.
Are you free,
Yes.
Kelly? Do you
I
feel
just
good,
don't stop
Kelly?
talking now.
Listen, I could talk to you for another hour. I just want to ask you one question about your mum.
Yeah.
Do you talk to her?
Yeah, I see the butterflies all the time.
Do you tell? Well, she knows that you've
Yeah, I
freed
hope
yourself.
so. Yeah.
And she's proud of you.
I hope so. Yeah, I think she would definitely see a different Kelly, one that she always wanted. Yeah, don't. I'm sorry.
Unique. Dame Kelly Holmes. It's a great read. We've touched a lot on the athletics, but it's a great read. The first 4 chapters, we talked about this. And she's free. And it's wonderful.
Thanks.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming in.
I'm going to just laugh about you falling off the stage now, then I can stop crying.
Oh, no, you see this now? I'm dead.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling.